13 mitigator Ford Fusion. I'd like to thank you for listening to Let's Talk Racing.tv.
Driver of the number 5 Kiker Motorsports Camry. Welcome to Let's Talk Racing TV.
With Rockingham Speedway. Thanks for listening to Let's Talk Racing.
I'm Tony Peter, driver of the number 17 Toyota in the NASCAR Camp World Truck Series, and you're listening to Let's Talk Racing.
Hey guys, I'm Daytona 500 winner Trevor Bain, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Racing.
Hi, this is Dylan Smith. I'd like to thank you for listening to Let's Talk Racing.
Hi, I'm Amber Colvin, and I'd like to thank you for watching Let's Talk Racing.
Like to welcome everybody to Let's Talk Racing. I almost went blank and sitting there trying to remember that doggone Air Force Base. We have on the phone with us now Lindsey Cramsey. Cramsey. Did I say Ramsey or Cramsey? Oh, geez, I'm all screwed up tonight. You can kick my butt when you see me next time, okay?
Deal.
Anywho, yeah, we're talking about Lindsey being out there in Denver, Colorado. I also have family out there down near Colorado Springs area. I'd have to look up their regular address. But anywho, when that base hits me, it'll pop Lowry Air Force Base. There we go.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I knew I'd remember that sucker.
It's been 6 months there. You ought to be able to remember it.
But it was a few years ago. We'll leave it at that. Anyway, this is the first time we've had you on the show. Most people are used to us getting stock car racers on here because both of us have a stock car racing background.
Uh-huh.
And so it's always nice to get some of the other racing genres on here.
That's it.
What's her name? Shoot. Female motorcyclist, real fast.
Pro Stock Motorcycle?
Yeah, you should know her.
Angel. Feeling or Champagne, but she had lots of S last names.
Oh, shoot. It's one of those that'll hit me in a second because I'm going to cheat and look it up. I get emails from her all the time. She's doing some land speed testing out on the flats too. But anyway, let's get back to you. You're the one that's on here with us. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into racing, what you've gotten into, things you've done, things you're looking to do.
Okay. So my dad started racing about 30 years ago, and he had a 1970 Nova. He just went out a couple of times and, to some of our, high school drag races and that kind of stuff that we have at Vandermeer Speedway. And he just completely fell in love with it. And so my parents tell me that the first time they brought me to the track was when I was 3 days old. So that kind of gives whole new meaning to growing up at the racetrack. So I started racing junior dragsters when I was 8. I won 3 championships throughout junior dragster racing, and then I kind of retired my junior dragster when I was 16. And then my dad had a 1970 Challenger that he had raced since he was 19. And so I got to race in that for a little while. And then last year, in 2012, I bought my own Super Comp dragster. I saved up all my money. I worked throughout college and graduated a little early, and so I was able to finally purchase what I'd always wanted. And so I got to race in the Super Comp category at Vandermeer, as well as their electronics class called Super Pro. I runner-up for points in Super Comp. And then, despite a couple of breakages, I still took top 10 in Super Pro at Vandermeer. So hoping this next year I'm doing a lot more traveling doing some more stuff on the NHRA circuit. I'm going to hit 8 divisionals and 6 nationals. We're doing lots of traveling. Denver isn't quite the hot spot for drag racing, but we do pretty well. So that's kind of the plans for 2013.
Well, cool.
So where all have you raced so far? Just is it just the one track, or have you done any traveling so far?
I've done a little bit of traveling. Mostly Vandermeer is my home track. It's about 2 miles away from my house, so that makes it nice and convenient. I did get to travel to Great Bend, Kansas for their divisional out there. It was only my second super comp race, actually. So unfortunately, I didn't do very well, but I ended up runnering-up at the divisional at Vandermeer in June. So I'm hoping that I kind of do that same kind of thing throughout the races this year. Like I said, we're hitting a ton of races. It's going to be pretty stressful. I'm already a little bit worried, have the cars completely apart. My next race, the first race, is actually February 22nd in Arizona and Phoenix.
Well, now that you said Arizona, I remembered who it was. The girl's name is Valerie Thompson.
Okay, yep.
So if you see her out there, because that's where she is from.
Okay, very cool. I've heard so many great things about Firebird that I can't wait to go out there. And then unfortunately, it's the very last one that they're ever going to have. They couldn't work out a deal for leasing, and so that's the last one.
Okay, now your dragster that you run, what's the top speed hit on that thing?
Up on the mountain we have, some crazy altitude. So it's a 565 cubic inch motor, and then it just has a Dart 360 head. So the fastest I've ever been is an 830 at 162 miles an hour.
There you go. That's cranking right along.
Yeah, it's not bad, and then the index at Vandermeer is a 950. So.
That's pretty good. Now I read somewhere along the line that you have a name for your car. What have you named your car?
So that really came from, my boyfriend has a 73 Formula Firebird, and we went all the way to Vegas to pick it up. It's a stock eliminator car. On the way back, there was this boat that passed us, and the boat was called a Blue Swan. And so his car was blue, and so naturally I was like, oh my gosh, we have to call it the Blue Swan. And so then he was always trying to find something to call mine, and it has black headers and black wheels and, black paint, so he started calling it Black Betty.
Things people do to us.
I know.
Who do you have sponsoring your car for next year?
Mostly it's me, but I also have a sponsorship through Lucas Oil. So I'm really excited about that. I just sent in my order, so I can't wait.
Cool. Now, is it just a trade-out thing where you get product?
Yep, exactly. Yep, I get product, and then anything else at a discounted price, and I just promote them as much as I can. I'm doing as much as I can on Facebook, and I have my own website and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I had the same thing running with Pennzoil when I used to run.
Okay. Yep. Pennzoil always makes me think of Eddie Hill. I just can't help it. He was my favorite.
Yeah. It's always nice to have all the oil you need whenever you need to change it, do stuff.
Yeah, it is great. And just, I've had a lot of good luck with the Lucas Oil products. Actually, I did lose a race because of it, but then some Lucas Oil in between rounds, and I couldn't. It was actually not in between rounds. I couldn't get off work early enough, and so I just showed up for first round. And we had changed oil, and I said, well, I think it'll make a little bit of a difference, but it'll be fine. And I actually picked up over a 10th, and I tried to kill as much as I could at the finish line. I was getting chased, and I couldn't. So I picked up my car a lot, but it was still good. Oh.
Now, do they have, if you go too fast, you get DQ'd or anything like that?
Not DQ'd. So it's specifically bracket racing. So we have breakouts. So you make a prediction, a dial-in, and then if you go faster than that, then it's like not necessarily a punishment, but you can lose the race for going underneath your predicted dial-in.
Now, does your mother Kim, what does she think about you involved in all this?
I think I'm the oldest kid, and so when we first started junior racing, she wasn't, it was kind of what we did, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what she tells people too, is that, it's just what we do, it's what we're used to. She used to tell me that she was more nervous for me when I was running track in high school than she was when I was racing. So it's been really neat, though, getting buying my own car and that kind of stuff. The first time I pulled it out of the trailer on its own power, I was driving it, and she started crying. And I was like, Mom, why are you crying? She's like, I'm just so happy for you, So my mom's probably my best friend, and she just understands what we go through, and she's always been there to support us. And she's raced a couple of times and enjoys it. She's kind of right now looking for her own car as well.
Oh, so the whole family's going to be racing.
Oh, yeah. Yep. My brother even has his own 1964 Nova that he races in our high school, and then the street categories up at Vandermeer, too.
Well, I tell you, you're going to need to find one big sponsor for everybody.
I know, right? We were talking about it the other day, and my mom said, well, you don't just need to, you can tell them you have a whole team they can sponsor, not just one car. That makes it so much better.
Oh, yeah, you get a lot of people out there. I mean, look at with Force and all those guys. I mean,
yeah,
you got that stuff everywhere.
So is your team just family related, or do you have a whole bunch of other people helping you?
It's really just family related right now. Like I said, my boyfriend races in our stock eliminator class in the NHRA, and so he's obviously a big help. We actually purchased this year. The reason I'm able to go out and travel is we purchased a 50-foot enclosed trailer, so we can actually put both of our cars in and then tow everywhere we want.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
All right, so you say your first race is February 22nd. Where are your national events going to be?
So I'm going to make one national in Arizona. The other ones are going to be in Tulsa. I'll make the Mile High Nationals at Vandermeer Speedway. There's going to be two or three actually, in Vegas. And then I'll be at the World Finals in Pomona as well. And then all my divisionals, they try to do a divisional right after a national. So a lot of times what we're going to do is we'll tow out there and then fly back home, and then fly back and then tow our stuff back after the divisional.
Cool.
Yeah, we're going to try to hit Indy. Everyone's been telling us for years how going to Indianapolis and racing the national there is just the best race you've ever been to. But unfortunately, it's almost an entire week long, so we'd have to take I think we have to take 4 days off of work. And so when you're working and racing, that makes it so tough to do, because we're already missing, a lot of Fridays and that kind of stuff, so we can make it out there for qualifying.
So what's your aspect? What are you looking to for the future to happen to you?
I've always kind of struggled with what I wanted to do. Just recently, after I bought the Super Comp car, I feel like that I'd love to drag race professionally, but not only that, but have something on the side. And I really enjoy speaking to people, talking to kids. I've done a lot of kind of car show ideas and things of that nature, and a couple other events with banks and that kind of stuff, bringing people into their open houses and that thing. But I think that's what I'd like to do, is talk to people about drag racing and what I do, and and then on top of that, race full time as well.
All right, you said your boyfriend was into the NHRAs. What class does he run in?
Yeah, so he has a stock eliminator car. And stock eliminator is one of the older classes. It's no electronics. It's specifically foot braking. And what makes it pretty cool is it's a highly regulated class. And so a lot of times, with my car, I can do anything I want to it. The biggest carburetor, the best heads, that kind of thing. In stock eliminator, you have to run the carburetor that came on the car, the motor combination that came with it. So he has a Formula Firebird Turbo 455. You can't port the heads. You have to have stock lift, stock cam, stock rods and pistons. So you can't do a lot of things to the motor. But then instead of just letting you run whatever you want, they give you a weight to horsepower ratio that creates an index, and you have to run faster than that index based on your car and the class that you run.
Cool. Let me get one more question here. Sorry, I cut you off, Jack. How do you have problems dealing with the guy-girl thing being out there running?
It kind of depends how you look at it. I've never had anyone be mean to me by any means. I've never had someone come up and say something derogatory or, nothing like that. But I do feel like I struggle a little bit with meeting people. It seems like no one wants to talk to me. So, which is kind of funny, and it's definitely people that, I haven't met before. So, everyone at Vandermeer, they know my dad, they know my family, and so it's easy to go up and, talk to them and get information and that kind of stuff. When it comes to national events, I haven't had much experience in them, but that makes it a little bit more difficult.
Cool. All right. Do you have another quick question before we kick her to the curb, so to speak? But anywho, well, I'm glad we had the chance to meet you, Lindsey.
Me too. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.
All right. We will have you back on again sometime, hopefully, when we got some more time. What we'll have to do is schedule you for like the last 15 minutes of the show. That way you just keep right on going.
Okay, that sounds great.
All right. Talk to you later. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
We now have Roger Carter on the line with us. How you doing, Roger?
All right, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. I woke up and found out my name wasn't in the obituaries, and I figured that was a good day.
That's a good day, right?
First time we had you on the show, why don't you just give us a little quick bio about yourself so people can find out something about you?
Well, I've been in racing for 22 years. We've raced everything from the Cup Series to now the ARCA Series. For the last 20 years, I've had at least ran one or two races in the ARCA Series. Since 2011, we've been running a full schedule in the ARCA Series, and again this year we're going to run the full schedule in 2013. So we're pretty excited about that. We have Joel Wilman's going to drive the 97 car at Daytona. We have signed GNC Nutrition for that, and hopefully that deal is going to come on for the rest of the year. Galen Hassler is going to drive our 40 car, and we also signed Chase Austin for 9 races with No Fear Apparel. So it'll be a pretty busy season this year. We thought we were starting off with maybe just running one car for the season, and it ends up maybe we're right back to 2 and maybe 3. So
it just really sucks you getting to be sponsor rich,
Yeah, I don't know about that, but you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, it works pretty good. Sponsorship's kind of tough these days, but we're very fortunate this year with No Fear coming on. We're doing the No Fear Driver Challenge in Kentucky on May 24th and 25th, which we take the top driver and they get 2 ARCA races. So, we do have some pretty good things going on. That's we're pretty happy with. So,
I see with Chase Austin that you're going to run some different divisions with him, different tracks and stuff like that. What are the plans for him totally?
Our plans with him right now is to run 9 ARCA races, and excuse me, I'm just getting over a cold. But we're going to run 9 ARCA races and possibly some truck races. But the truck races are not written in stone yet. When we go to 2014, we'll definitely probably do some NASCAR stuff if all parties involved are happy and No Fear continues with what they're doing. But right now, we're not sure on the NASCAR and what we're going to do.
Were you talking about doing some the Cars Pro Cup Series too? Or I read something about that.
He's doing that with another team himself.
Okay.
With the No Fear sponsorship, I am not running that deal, but yes, he is going to run some Pro Cup stuff as well.
All right, what kind of cars are you? I saw where you had a lot of Dodges. Are you going to be running the Dodge name again this year, or?
I am sticking with the Dodge nameplate. We're pretty happy with what our inventory is. We have some great Dodge equipment right now. I've worked for the last 3 years to get where we're at. We're hoping that we can improve in our engine department this year with maybe some Penske engines and so forth.
Just getting ready to say, you should have a lot of Penske floating around now.
Yeah, they do, and let's hope that we can, I'm hoping that we can get some type of deal with them to either lease or purchase some engines, and that will really step up our program with Dodge. I'm hoping, because I've been with Dodge since the Everham days, and we did some work directly with Everham with Nick Tucker, and I really hope that Dodge takes a look and hopefully helps at least like to have an ARCA side a little bit, and that's why I'm trying to stay loyal to them.
Are they providing anything to you at all, or is it all outside?
They have not provided anything to me since 2007, so no, I have not gotten any help from Dodge at this point since then. So, but I haven't from any other manufacturer either. So, so I'm hoping that with Dodge, with them leaving NASCAR, that maybe they will step back up and help us a little bit with ARCA. Sheet metal and some engine help is huge for us. So, maybe that will happen.
Where are you getting your sheet metals and cars from now?
Right now, we just purchase our nose and tails, and we just send them out we do some fab work in-house, and we send out to have bodies put on a couple different fab shops. But our fleet, for us, is ready for 2013. This is the best going into a season yet. Our stuff is ready. My Mobile stuff is ready. We're sitting in a pretty good position here. So I'm really looking. We've got some pretty big-name drivers coming on for a few races that I'll be able to let out here soon that I think we'll have a real shot at winning some races this year.
Did you do the ARCA test in Daytona a few weeks back?
Yes, sir, we did, and we ended up 12th overall with Galen Hassler, and I think we ended up 19th with Joel. And the cars were real good in a draft. As usual, the Dodge is a little slow on its own. I don't think we'll qualify well down there, but I think both cars will be extremely competitive. I feel in 20 years of taking stuff down to Daytona and ARCA Series, I think these are the two best pieces that I've had yet. So I really feel that we're going to do really well down there.
All right, the ARCA body style, is that back to the older type cars as compared to what they're running now in NASCAR?
We're still running the stuff that was the older Cup car prior to the COT, but they're really not what they were because we do a lot of work with the bodies and stuff. Really, the older Cup cars are not competitive with the bodies that were on them because we do so much with them as far as fab work and body positioning and so forth. So, in theory, they are the older Cup cars prior to COT, correct?
Oh, you go ahead. You were cranking right along. I was doing research for some other stuff while you were going. I was just noticing that Harvick finally confirmed he's going to go play with Tony. Now, do you have other people that do basically like a rent-a-ride with some of your equipment?
Yes, we have. I do several different drivers throughout the year. Like last year, we ran 5 races with one driver, and it'll be the same in 2013. We'll interchange. I do have Mary Eve Defoe. I'm sure we'll run a handful of races with her. And some of the drivers we've worked with over the last few years. So, but yes, we definitely do rent cars out, and I still have some seats available for 2013 as well. We're also doing a project with that movie Roadrunner that's coming up. So I'm providing some cars for the movie, and I also have a part in the movie myself. So
cool.
13 should be real busy for us, and I'm hoping that this is a different, it's a breakout year for us to take that next step. We've been running, 11th to 15th place, and I'm really hoping that we can take that next step to get the 5th to 10th place car, and have a shot at the win. I feel our equipment's getting to that point.
All right, you mentioned Mary Eve DeVoe. What are the plans for her? I mean, you say you're going to do some races. Is it going to be the bigger races or?
Yeah, we'll probably run the bigger races with her. I know she's working on some stuff for probably the same races we ran last year. The Pocono and maybe Kansas and things of that nature. She's working on some things, and I'm working on some things as well that kind of fit for her. So, like I say, I really probably it'll play out where we run probably about 5 races with her is what I'm looking to do.
I know I'm going to have to definitely get back up with you then, because I got somebody that I've been helping out, shopping around, looking for doing a few rides here and there, trying to get back into stock car racing.
Great. I mean, we have some, like I said, we have seats available, and I mean, for what our cost is in comparison to some of the other teams, we're real affordable, and we still have very, very respectable equipment. So I know they would be good.
All right. What do you all run the dirt race too when you for the season?
Yeah, we run the whole
Yes.
schedule. We ran the dirt race this year. I think we finished 13th with Tommy O'Leary did a heck of a job for us. We did go back.
Okay.
One of them was rained out. The coin was rained.
Let me give you the call-in number because you're calling in my cell phone.
So, yeah,
That's
we
all
are
right.
planning on running the
757.
again this year.
Good.
7.
I know the it's good. What
727.
kind of changes do you have to make on your car to run the dirt compared to
92,
the asphalt? What kind of
92
suspension changes or whatever do you have to make?
And your Trace Austin?
Well, you'd be surprised. It's very minimal
Chase off.
because we run a smaller tire.
Go ahead and call in. He's on the line now.
There
We need both of you.
is some chassis setup that we do change on that to accommodate for the smaller tire and so forth. But the dirt race itself,
Go to
it becomes like asphalt, so
pitball.serverroom.
not a lot of difference.
/pitball.
laps there. It really, becomes like an asphalt.
Right.
So, I put a screen on the grill and stuff. It's not a lot of major changes to run the dirt. I love the dirt up there. I think it's great that we go there. It's one of my favorite races to go to. I'm really looking forward to them this year. Maybe I've been working with Tommy O'Leary. Hopefully we get him back in that car for one of these dirt races. He does a great job.
All right, you said something about the possibility of having chasing some truck races. Would it be a possibility that you would try to run the dirt at Eldora?
We have not discussed that. I don't know yet. That is a possibility. I would like to, if I was going to run a truck race this year, that would be the one I'd like to run. So we're definitely open to that for sure. If the dollars and cents are, but if the deal came up, we certainly would like to do it.
Cool. Speaking of Chase, I believe he just now called in on the line. Is that you there, Chase?
Yeah, how are you today?
Good.
Hey, Chase, how you doing?
I'm doing great. And yourself?
Good.
For the folks watching, we have Chase Austin on the line. We were just talking about him, and continue on.
Well, Chase, give us a little bit of a background on you and what you've been doing.
I've been in and out of the sport, since I was about 16, over 20-some years now, and done a lot of late model and modifieds, both asphalt and dirt, and, tried to do some bush stuff years ago and tried smarking some trucks when they first started and, kind of running off family money and got really expensive and got out of it for a little while and tried to live my dream through someone else's eyes. And then just recently I've got the itch to get back in and was working towards that and had come up with a deal with No Fear and Neil Morton and put together a deal and started talking to Roger, and everything's worked out really well. And, we're glad to present the number 97 No Fear Dodge for next year in the ARCA Series.
All right, I was talking with Roger earlier and told about the Pro Cup Series. Who are you running for the Pro Cup with the Pro Cup car?
We were going to run this year. We had planned on doing a full schedule, but some of the races are going to conflict with the ARCA schedule, so we're going to cut back on some of that and do right now obligated to 9 and 10 of the Speedway and the televised races for ARCA, and then try to add some more as we go and possibly a couple of truck races.
All right. Keep going.
Go ahead.
I'm just looking up stuff here, trying to find him on Facebook here. What do you have a Facebook page?
Yeah, we do. It's if you look it up, it's chase.austin.908. It's just a personal page. We haven't really started our fan page yet. We're working and trying to get our own website up, and just taking everything as we go.
Cool. That must here out of living in Greenville, North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I found you. That's bad news. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll have the same problem I have. Need a second sign in because you get too many people on your first one.
Well, that would be a nice problem to have.
Yeah, last time I checked, I think I had about 5,200 people signed on to my original one. So I had to start a second one because I couldn't accept anybody that wanted to be friends. But hey, the life and the cross I have to bear for doing all this stuff, what can I say?
Yeah, some of us are blessed.
Oh gosh, I'll give you some of them.
Well, with Roger's help, we'll get there.
Some of them from you. I added a lot tonight, so I think it probably came from your show.
Cool, good.
So, Roger, other than the ARCA series and whatever other things you're involved with, do you have any other outside stuff other than the movie and everything else going on?
No, right now I used to be in the car business and the manufacturing business, and I got out of everything so I could devote 100% to racing. I'm at the point in my life where I said, I want to do a team full time. That's what I want to do, and nothing else. So we pretty much dedicate 100% to racing, and that's my life right now is strictly racing. So, and it's not a bad life. I can tell you that. I've been very pleased and very blessed to be doing it, and like I say, I think our future is very bright for us.
Where is your shop located at?
We're in Mooresville, North Carolina.
Over by the drag strip, or?
We're not far from the drag strip. We're probably about a mile and a half from the drag strip off of 150.
Oh, okay. I'm down that way a lot. I never saw your shop down that way.
Yeah, we're kind of off the beaten path. We're right next to Derek Hope and I shared a shop for about a year and a half, and then he moved over to a shop, and then I'm in the process right now of this year. We're planning on building a new shop, and so I moved over next to him for right now. We can't seem to get away from each other even if we try. So it's me and Derek Hope are right next to each other, and we're, like I say, we're currently in the process of building a 15,000 square foot facility this year. That's our plan. So,
well, that's good. That's real good. Chase, I remember reading somewhere along the line on you that weren't you one of Rusty's developmental drivers at one time?
No, that's the other Chase Austin. There's actually 2 or 3 of us in racing that I know of. Him, myself, and a older gentleman over in Europe that's in the European touring cars.
Oh, okay.
And Chase Austin out of Kansas City and I are very good friends, and he's going to run the 500 this year for AJ Vogt. So I know Chase real well, and I said we have kind of an outstanding joke that maybe we can get 2 Chases on this in each one of my cars. That should make some pretty good press.
Mm. I mean, wouldn't that be fun? All of them come up together, and that's like if Roger, if you and I were together, somebody'd say, "Hey, Roger," we'd be both flipping our heads around trying to figure out who they wanted.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I've actually reached out to the other Chase Austin via Facebook and presented them with the idea of possibly doing it, and waiting to hear word.
Well, that's cool. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, it would be an announcer's nightmare, that's for sure.
That's almost as bad. I got a friend of mine. He's a Richard Petty lookalike, and he and I will go to. I'll take him to a race with me or something, and we'll go and interview other drivers. And it's so funny that you'll see one of the drivers come up. It's like Kenny Schrader come up, start talking to him, thinking he was just finishing a conversation he had earlier with him. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I had something like that before. I had here in my hometown, we have a gentleman named Bo Petty, which used to be involved in racing a little bit with his car with Stanton Barrett, and he was Jeff Gordon's body double in a lot of commercials, and he got a lot of attention like that.
Huh. Cool. I mean, it's neat to see a lot of that stuff too.
Yeah, we actually have a Dale Earnhardt Sr. lookalike that's going to be in this movie, and he looks almost identical to him. It's amazing.
I may know him.
I think his name is Bob Brinker.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yep, Brinkerhoff. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, he really looks like him. It's something else.
Yeah, ever since I started helping the Richard Petty lookalike guy, I've started meeting all these other people. Get lots of nice pictures that way.
Yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, we're real anxious for the season to start up. It can't start soon enough for us. I really look forward to Daytona, and that's one of my favorite places to go. And I know a lot of us, a lot of drivers and car owners don't like it, but me as a driver and as a car owner, I love the place. That and Talladega both are 2 of my favorite places, so I'm really looking forward to it. So
cool. By the way, if you get in touch with the guys, tell them if they need the Richard Petty lookalike, just get up with me.
Okay. We will.
We'll make it a big fun time.
Yeah, there you go.
But anywho, good with everything. Well, we'll go ahead and let you guys get going because I know got somebody else. We've had him wait off a little bit longer because got a little bit further along than we thought we would. We'll have to get you a call in on the late side of the show so that we can run you longer than the regular time limit. Go
Well,
ahead.
I sure appreciate it. Anytime I'm available, I like being on your show, and I do encourage any of your listeners out there, if you do want to drive an ARCA car, we are doing the No Fear Driver Challenge on my website, RogerCarter2Racing.com. They can log on there and see how they can get a chance to drive a car, win a ride to 2 ARCA races this year. So it's a really good program.
Let me lose about another 100 pounds. I'll come out there.
There you go. Hey, I'm a pretty big boy myself. I'm on a diet now. I may have an opportunity to drive Daytona, so I've been trying to bust my butt to lose some weight.
I'm down from about 320 down to in the 270 area. I've actually gotten down below 270.
That's good. That's good. I'm actually at probably about 260 right now, and I'm normally about 230. So I'm trying to get back down there. So
We know how weight has to deal in the car. I always give it a lot of left side weight anyway.
yeah,
Give me a short track.
that's why Jimmy Spencer is always my hero.
All right, you guys have a good night. Go ahead and do a shout out to the sponsors if you want to before we let you get kicked to the curb.
All right. Well, I'd sure like to thank No Fear, GNC Nutrition, and we're looking forward to a good season this year. And we have so many numerous sponsors to mention. So I've got all of you. Just we sure appreciate your help, and thanks for having us on, guys. We appreciate it.
All right, no problem.
Chase, good to hear from you.
Yeah, same here. I want to thank you guys for letting us be a part of it, and look forward to talking to you in the future. And maybe we'll have some good news to talk about here shortly.
All right, let's have a good run down at Daytona, and we'll bring you back after that.
All right, you guys have an awesome night, and congratulations on your show. And I wanted to thank Roger for putting our deal together with us.
No problem. Be safe, guys.
Right, bye.
All right, thank you.
Now.
All right.
Bye.
Well, that was pretty interesting.
Get thrown a curve.
Well, I got really thrown a curve because I had the wrong Chase Austin. I mean, that's the bad part.
Oh gosh. Yeah, while y'all were talking, I was scanning through J-Ski here, and they were talking about Harvick. They finally said, yeah, he's going to go race for Stewart. And what else was there? Bruton Smith is going to try to get him to end the starting parks.
That's going to be interesting to see how he's going to work with that.
Well, he wants the media guys to put the pressure on everybody. So I reckon, hey.
A lot of interesting things have come out during this media tour they got going on down there this week. McMurray's got him a new sponsor with Cessna for airplanes.
Yeah,
that's a big deal. He still will have McDonald's, and Bass Pro Shops is going to be on for 2 races.
Let's see, the 43 car, he's going to be having Smithfield, he's going to have Gwaltney, he's going to have Eckrich, he's going to have Farmland on the car through the year here.
Basically the same thing. The interesting thing, I was watching the media tour press thing today from Hendrick Motorsports. I was not aware that Dale Jr. has 11 races that he's on. He doesn't have a
13.
sponsor. What was it, 13?
13 races. But hey, he's got.
He's got Hendrick Motorsports.
Oh yeah.
They'll come up with something, but I just find that unusual for him to be in that situation.
I mean, well, look, for a while Jeff Gordon didn't have anything, and then all of a sudden they wound up with the charity organization there for dealing with AARP and all that stuff.
But that was that media tour. I see where they also got they were talking about the new jet dryers they're going to bring out next year. That's going to be interesting. I hear that they can
dry it a whole lot faster or something.
They can dry Daytona International Speedway
30
minutes.
20% of the current time. Holy smokies! That'll get them back racing quicker. That's for sure.
It's supposed to be some kind of forced air system in there to blow it off the track, and I don't know how that works.
How much you want to bet you're going to see asphalt stuff flying off too?
Could be. Could be.
Oh, good. You squeaky tonight, eh?
I'm telling you.
Squeakers. Now we got to wait for Little Red Vogt. I want VOGT. How do you pronounce that?
I used to be a guy who played baseball, and his name was Vogt. But I don't know how.
Let me text him, tell him to go ahead and call.
I enjoyed the being down there for the test last week at Charlotte with the new things they've got going on down there. That new inspection station, the new inspection station is unbelievable. I spent basically about 2 hours watching them inspect cars.
Did you bring back any good pictures?
I got pictures. I just haven't put them on Facebook yet.
Come on, get on the program. You've been back for what? At least 3 or 4 days.
Well, I had the weekend. I had other things going on this weekend, but
no, we're talking racing stuff here. Nothing takes over for racing. Okay, get it right.
Well, tell my wife that.
Oh gosh. Let's talk racing.
Hi, Roger.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, it's Red.
Finally.
Hey, don't worry about it. No, these things have to know. No problem.
Oh gosh, I thought I was bad sometimes trying to squeeze 6 people in or 8 people in an hour session, because I would get hit with a thing. They would say, "Oh, by the way, we forgot to tell you we're taking all these drivers to this thing, this banquet, and we forgot they were supposed to be on the show type thing." And so the next thing I know, okay, everybody gets 5 minutes instead of their usual 15.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh God! Then the 5 minutes didn't work out to be 5 minutes. Then it would turn into like 10 and 12 minutes.
Right. Yeah. Are you on commercial right now?
No, we're live. Actually, our commercials don't come till the end. We go full blast until the end, and that's it.
Oh, I see. All right. Okay.
So everything you're saying,
no problem at all. Well, I'm happy to make adjustments when necessary and however necessary. So it's no problem.
Yeah, it was no big thing. One of the guys, he had one of his drivers that races for him in ARCA, and hopped on there, do a call in. In fact, I was getting a phone call on my cell phone. I'm trying to figure out who his number was. I said, "Oh, that's North Carolina number. Somebody's a race car driver."
Oh, yeah, okay, fine. Well, current drivers are a point of interest right now, so that's a good thing.
Okay, we got Jack Dodson over here beside me on the show as well, so you'll hear 2 different voices at least. So not to make you think you're losing your hearing or something, you know.
All right. Hi, Jack. How are you?
All right. How you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. I'm doing very well. I'm happy to join you guys on the program tonight.
Oh, we're glad to have you.
Go ahead. I got you kicked into gear now. It's your turn.
All right. Tell us a little bit about yourself there, Red, so everybody will know what's going on.
Well, all right. I'm out here in California, of course, and I am actually a retired university professor and have taught out here in California at the university for at a local community college here, actually, also for 32 years. And during the time that I was teaching, I was involved in SCCA GT2 racing for 27 of those 32 years. So I kept my hand in doing that. And certainly, once born into the blood, you it never leaves you. And I usually tell people that I was listening to the roar of Ford Flathead engines while I was in the womb, and so I, it got into my genes somehow or other, and it just never left. So I know that occasionally when my friend Bill Blair, back in Thomasville, North Carolina, he and his friends have their Flathead Ford series going. I enjoy watching it on YouTube out here in California, and the sound of those Flathead Ford engines certainly bring back some very strong memories. It's just myself and my great dog, Spatch, who is by the way, a hero dog. My dog saved my life 3 years ago from a 103-pound pit bull attack on my person. My 50-pound guy pulled that pit bull off of me, and he was awarded a hero dog medal by the American Humane Society for that feat. So Satch and I are inseparable friends, and we live here in Santa Maria, California, just about 20 miles or so down from the university that I taught at, and only about a mile from the community college where I taught also. So I'm writing a book about my dad. That's what I've been doing since the 15 years that I retired. I haven't been writing the book for 15 years, but I've been trying to get the book out for the last 3 or 4 years, and I've had a lot of disappointing interruptions and, what do they call it, writer's block. And so getting the book to the publishing stage has been a little frustrating, but it's a book about Dad, and I want the world to know about him because he has been faded into the archives of racing history, and not too many people know about his amazing life and what he really actually accomplished during his span of time of 89 years on this earth, and with less than a 5th grade education, how he mastered the American automotive racing world and actually started stock car racing in the United States, and a lot of people don't realize that. He actually started organized stock car racing in the United States. I wanted to launch, if I may, into talking about that because this is my favorite subject, and certainly my existence is not anywhere near as exciting as his.
This is your time of fame and shame. Go for it. I have no problems at all. We love all good things about racing. Come on now.
Okay. Of course, a lot of people who've heard me talk with you on your program before have heard what I'm about to say before, and I don't mean to bore those people who have heard that before, but I certainly know you have new listeners all the time. Dad was born in Washington, D.C. in 1904. Sometime before his lifelong friend, and I'll launch right into that and let you know that his lifelong friend was in fact William H.G. France, Bill France Sr., who was born sometime after my father, and in Washington, D.C., and they grew up as childhood friends, and very few people know that. And that was one of the good things about NASCAR, and it was also one of the difficult things about Dad's life that steered him in the wrong direction when it came time to reorganize what he actually formed in Georgia in 1929. Dad built, for instance, his expertise grew from his early beginnings in the Universal Cadillac Corporation when he was only 13 years old. He dropped out of school. Of course, that was during the Depression times, and so many kids have to do that and go to work to help support the family. And he went to work for Universal Cadillac Corporation as a grease pit monkey, cleaning out the grease pits that the cars used to have to drive over to get serviced. And he grew from a grease pit monkey up to the shop foreman of Universal Cadillac Corporation, which in fact was owned by Joseph Kennedy. It was one of his front businesses that he used for the development of his bootleg industry in importing Canadian whiskey into the country that he used to bring down by sailboat from Canada. And Dad had the opportunity of getting his own bootleg career started at that time, because at the age of 14, he was going over to the New Jersey docks and picking up a fully loaded Cadillac loaded with Joseph Kennedy's Canadian bootleg whiskey and driving it to its destination in Washington, D.C. Now, I always have fun asking the question, and I think you already know the answer to it, so I won't ask it of you again because you know the answer, but I will tell you where he drove that fully loaded Cadillac to in Washington, D.C. twice a week. He drove it to the White House, to the west entrance of the White House. He did this quite consistently and got $100 a load, which was an awful lot of money back at that time. And he never was stopped, of course, obviously. Everybody knew, all the law enforcement people knew that particular automobile, those automobiles, and they never stopped them because, after all, they were going to the office of the President of the United States. And Dad would just go drive it up to the west entrance of the White House, get out of the vehicle, and walk away. And that's all he had to do. He saved up that money and started his own racing career by building his own race cars and also acquiring Indian motorcycles and souping up those. And he became the champion Indian motorcycle racer on board tracks, and he held the Indian Championship board track racing championship for 4 years on board tracks, which is how he met my mother, who was a volunteer on a medical team on the board tracks for motorcycle racing, and he had a sprocket block up on his motorcycle at the beginning of the new season, and had a brand new leather suit on that was awarded to him for his championship from the previous year. And by the time he stopped rolling down the track after a sprocket block up, he had only his left boot on, according to my mother. And he was full of splinters and was in the hospital for 3 months while they pulled splinters out of him and sewed him up and patched him up. So he was a pretty good mess. But Mom fell in love with him, and thereby my older brother, who is 18 months older than I am, and who is Louis Jerome Vogt Jr., Jerry, and then myself. At any rate, Dad, before he was 25 years old, he was building Miller engines in Indianapolis. He built Peter DePaulo's Indianapolis Championship car, built Peter DePaulo's engine and his race car that Peter DePaulo won Indianapolis 500 in, and this was accomplished by my father before he was 25 years old. Dad had a particular genius about the internal combustion engine and had a unique understanding of the geometry of automobiles and their suspension systems and what it took to make them handle properly. Dad was contacted by a number of gangsters during that period of time, and as you know, Al Capone and the Irish people in Chicago and Detroit and so forth had cars that needed to be fast cars and so forth, so Dad was quite busy building and earning a lot of money doing that for those people. But there was a fellow down in Atlanta named Peachtree Williams. Peachtree Williams heard about Dad. And Peachtree Williams at the time was controlling the bootleg industry pretty much in the entire southeastern part of the United States. He hired Dad, and he brought Dad down to Atlanta to build his bootleg cars for him down there. Well, very shortly after Dad got to Atlanta, Peachtree Williams had an unfortunate run-in with a big garbage truck, and Peachtree's armored Cadillac was totaled, and Peachtree Williams was killed. Now, a lot of people know of Raymond Parks, who, I should say immediately, right away, that without Raymond Parks from Dawsonville, Georgia, NASCAR would probably never have existed. because NASCAR grew out of not only my father's idea and his concepts and his beliefs, but the money that was provided by Raymond Parks. Virtually every penny that NASCAR and its precursor, NSCRA, the National Stock Car Racing Association, which Dad incorporated in Georgia in 1929, virtually every penny that those two organizations started on and existed on up until about 1951 or 52 was provided by Raymond Parks. I recall very, very clearly going up to the third floor of my father's shop in Atlanta at 556 Spring Street, which, by the way, is now 553 Spring Street, and the building has been completely restored where Dad's shop was. Anybody who wants to go by and see it, it's been very beautifully restored in Atlanta. It's now 553 Spring Street in Atlanta and owned by Peter Law, an attorney. But from the third floor, I would bring down brown paper sacks under each arm, and those paper sacks were full of folded money. And for the most part, I would hand those paper sacks to Grover Soseby. And in those sacks was just nothing but money, piles of money. And Grover Soseby would take those sacks down to Bill France in Ormond Beach and Daytona Beach, Florida. And that's what NASCAR got started on. And never a penny was ever returned to Raymond Parks. Not a penny was ever returned to Raymond Parks. Now, also, a lot of people don't know that the Daytona Beach track was built on land that Raymond Parks owned. And Raymond Parks provided that land for the beach track. It wasn't Bill France's land. It was land that was owned by Raymond Parks. So, again, without Raymond Parks and my father, NASCAR would never have existed. What actually happened was my mother had a degree in business from Columbia University and also a degree in French. She really was the mastermind, if you will, behind my dad, and who advised him on a lot of the things that he did to keep himself a little bit out of trouble. She's the person who advised him to incorporate NSCRA in 1929 when he had the idea of organizing the bootleggers all the way from up in Virginia and West Virginia and North South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, and so forth, to try to get them into an organization of some consistency so that they could compete with each other and in an organized way. There's a story, and this story again was related to me by my mother, that one of the first times that there was a organized race was it was held in Augusta, Georgia, in a field that one of the bootlegger fellows owned. That was quite successful, and he had scraped out this quarter-mile track and out of one of his fields, and they Dad started getting the word around amongst the bootleggers that there was going to be a race there, and everybody should show up. Well, there was probably about 35 or 40 people who did show up, and the conversation started amongst a lot of the people who didn't know one another. And they were from various states around on the East Coast, and it turned out that virtually all the cars except 7 of them had the red Vogt engines in them. Dad had built the engines for almost all the bootleg cars that showed up for the race, and most of the people didn't even know that their engine was built by the same guy that built the engine in the next guy's car. So it was really kind of an interesting thing that happened. I can't tell you who won that race. I don't know, but it was a really funny thing that so many people had Dad's engines in them. Dad was known as the premier bootleg car builder in the United States at the time. Dad had a unique thing about building bootleg cars, which transferred to his ability to build cars for the racetrack. A bootlegger could come to him and tell him that he would like to have a car built, and Dad would say, "Fine, I can do that for you. Where do you plan to do your trips?" And the bootlegger would tell him, and Dad would go with the bootlegger in the car that the bootlegger said he planned to use, and they would run the trip back and forth. And if there were several different trips, they would run those trips. And Dad would drive the car, and he would come back to the shop, and he'd run these routes a couple of times. And he'd come back to the shop, and he would tell the bootlegger that, well, all right, you can come back in a month, and you can pick up your car, or however long he said it would probably take. And Dad would build the engine, and he'd start setting up the car with welded-in racks in the back of the car, all the way up to the back seat and up into the front of the passenger seat. And these racks were set up such that the mason jar cases could just sit down into these racks and be solidly packed in there so that they wouldn't move. They could not even move a quarter of an inch. And the weight would be distributed correctly in the car. And then he would set up the suspension in the car so that it would react properly to the different turns and banks and the camber of the road that this bootlegger was going to be driving on. And then I would help. Of course, I love that kind of stuff. I helped load up these mason jar cases in the car, and Dad would take off, and he'd go up and he'd run the route a couple of times, and then he'd come back and he'd make adjustments to the springs, and you recall, of course, these were leaf springs, and so Dad used some of his Indianapolis and his own board track racing, open wheel racing experience, and he would modify these leaf springs in such a way that they would react properly to the different demands that were going to be on this car, and so that it would handle properly. And then he'd go back up and he'd run it again until he finally would get it correct. And that particular ability of his to understand the geometry of the modification of the suspension in a car, and by the way, the proper gearing of the rear end transmission in that automobile to the weight of the package that was going to be in there was his particular genius. And some of the things that he would do to make the engine go faster than anything up to that time that anybody knew. Some people don't know that Henry Ford actually came down to my dad's business early on when he first got down there, because Dad was getting so much more horsepower and such higher speeds out of the first D8 Ford engines that came out. The engineers at Ford apparently couldn't get any more than 85 horsepower out of what they were putting out. Most people know that there were 85 horsepower engines, or 60 horsepower in the little shorty V8s. And Dad was getting a lot more out of them. And so Ford came down there, I guess, with a couple of his engineers, according to this story from my mother. And Dad spent some time with him, showing him some of the things that he did. And this is where Dad lost a lot of money. I say he lost money. You can't lose anything that you don't have. But he along with people like Smokey Unick and Tiger Tom Pistone and other people who have had a particular genius about their innovation and their ability to come up with new ideas and different ways of doing things, and who have shared this information with others quite readily and quite freely, and as a result of doing it, the people with whom they shared it have made a lot of money off of it. And my dad and Smokey Unick and Tiger Tom Pistone and so many other people that had done that were left in the lurch and never were paid for their genius. So people like Smokey Unick would sign a contract, for instance, with General Motors or somebody, and as a result of signing that contract, he did not really understand that he was signing away millions of dollars that he could have otherwise had if he hadn't done that. So the American corporation system has taken advantage of a lot of people like that. Another example of that was where Dad helped in the development of the fish carburetor. I don't know if you guys have heard of the fish carburetor, but Bob Fish developed an absolutely magnificent piece of equipment that I had the experience of driving vehicles equipped with a fish carburetor, and it was an amazing thing. And the American automobile industry, for whatever the reasons were, drove the man out of business, and that particular wonderful piece of equipment never reached the marketplace. It was like the Tucker automobile, never reached the American marketplace. It just, there's a lot of things in the American industry that I don't think are quite fair and quite right. So, at any rate, Dad, of course, is the person who won the first NASCAR championship, the second NASCAR championship, and the only reason he was able to do that is because he carried this ability from the bootleg industry all the way through to the racetrack. And I think NASCAR, one of the criticisms I have of NASCAR is that they do not like to have people understand that NASCAR most definitely grew out of the bootleg business. That's where it came from. It didn't come from anywhere else. It came from the bootleg business. And there were virtually no real good drivers in the early part of NASCAR that weren't bootleggers. Roy Hall, Junior Johnson,
there's a bunch of them. I mean, that's where it came from.
Yeah, because you got to remember that's how it all started. A bunch of the bootleggers that were running the Shine and everything said, "Hey, let's get together and let's see who's got the fastest car."
That's right.
And I mean, that's where it all gets thrown in together, and everybody says, "Yeah, no, throw the money out there. Let's do some betting."
That's correct. And the families today, like myself, I have some extended cousins down in Florida that I've only most recently gotten back in touch with, but the families today, there are not many of us around left who know and clearly know what has occurred in the ancient history of NASCAR. There aren't enough of us around to put NASCAR's feet to the fire and have them fess up up, if you will, and clearly tell the story. My effort in writing my book about Dad is to make sure that he gains the recognition that he deserves. And people have said, well, you're standing to make a lot of money out of this and so forth and so on. Well, I'm kissing the edge of 80 years old now. And I laugh at that, and I say, well, I'm not too sure at my stage of life what I would do with a whole lot of money, But no, any economic gains that are ever derived from my efforts to have Dad recognized, and others, by the way, who deserve the recognition, will go into a fund that will be a perpetual fund that will help people in NASCAR, drivers and pit crew members who are permanently injured and become indigent as a result of those injuries. And I think I am devastated that NASCAR has never, ever stepped up to the plate and established such a fund to help people like Sam Ard, for instance, who is deathly ill, and other people who have deserved, because of their sacrifices to put NASCAR on the map and keep it there. Those people deserve to be assisted and recognized and made whole if possible. And that's what my dad's concept has always been. He might be gone now, but his concept lives on. As far as I am concerned, as long as I'm alive, his concept will be alive. And I'm ashamed I'm really actually ashamed of NASCAR that they have not done something to sustain the history of the sport and recognize the people who really put their lives on the line and who sacrifice food on the table and their families to make the sport what it is.
Well, now that brings up an interesting point that you're saying there. With the history of NASCAR, a lot of people don't know where it all started and whatever. I think that the early people that started NASCAR, and Bill France Jr. and all of them, that's all well and good because they were NASCAR. But people like your father and probably Smokey Unick and some of these other guys, I believe they should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, hopefully with your book that you get out, that'll help get read into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, well, yes. Personally, I mean, Uncle Raymond, Raymond Fox was always to me known as Uncle Raymond. Personally, I think Uncle Raymond should have been the first person to ever go in the Hall of Fame. Frankly, I mean, that's my opinion, and not necessarily my dad. I know it may sound strange, but I know the contributions that Raymond made, and I mean, I'm first-hand witness to that, and he should have been the first one. Now, obviously, I'm a bit biased. Not a bit. I'm very biased. I think my dad probably should have been the second.
No, we don't think you're biased.
There are a lot of people who were killed. There are a lot of people who put their cars on the track and spent their last penny getting their cars to the track and on the track. And if they had not done that,
right,
there wouldn't have been a race. That's correct. The point that I'm making. All the people who put their cars out there on the track to put on a show, to make a show, to make the sport to be competitive, or at least try to be competitive with each other, they're the people who built the sport. The drivers, the car owners, the early sponsors announcers, the ones that could barely afford $500 to give a guy for maybe an engine or just tires or something, or like they used to do, in the old days, go rent a car and take it to the track and race it in the old days. I mean, people don't realize that used to go on. Days where the strictly stock cars when stock cars were stock cars, but really were stock cars. They would go rent a car and they would take them car to the track and they race the car and then they try to keep it from getting banged up and then they take it back to the place where they rented it from. And if it was messed up or they crashed it, well, they try to get out of town.
Days of Thunder.
Well, the way I see it, like you do, and I guess I have a little bit more knowledge of the history of NASCAR than some people do. I guess maybe, but if it wasn't for people like Raymond Parks and your dad and those people, there wouldn't have been a Richard Petty. There wouldn't have been a Darrell Waltrip. There wouldn't have been these people that are already in the Hall of Fame if it hadn't been for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Rusty Wallace wouldn't have been nominated or put in there or any of those people. And let me point out another thing. There was a guy named Bill Tuthill. Now he has a life-size bronze statue in the Hall of Fame, right in the same place where my dad's life-size statue is, and Red Byron. And there's one there, the Bill France. There's a life-size statue of a guy named Bill Tuthill there. And I when I was in the Hall of Fame here about a year ago, I overheard somebody say when one of the docents who was escorting a group of people around, the docent said, well, there's Bill France, and there's Red Byron, and there's Raymond Parks, and there's Red Vogt, and there's Bill Tuthill. And the person they asked a question that was a little bit knowledgeable, apparently, and they said, well, I know everybody that you said there, except this fellow you said, Bill Tuthill. Who's Bill Tuthill? And the docent was not well informed. The docent said, well, he was involved in the early part of NASCAR, and that's about all he said. And that's another person that people don't know much, if anything, about. You say Bill Tuthill, they say, well, who was that? And Bill Tuthill was a guy who was a motorcycle promoter, motorcycle race promoter, and who Dad knew from the northeastern part of the United States. I'm struggling to remember quickly the name of the motorcycle racing organization that Bill Tuthill headed up in the northeastern part of the United States, and it was specifically the early board track days is how far back Bill Tuthill goes. But Bill Tuthill knew my dad and my mother, and briefly knew Bill France, because Bill France would sometimes tag along with my dad on some of his escapades at the racetracks and so forth. Bill was kind of a tag-along guy. He didn't know anything at all about races or race cars or race engines or anything else. He didn't know the difference between a hammer and a screwdriver. At any rate, Bill Tuthill was an organizer. And when Dad called the meeting in Daytona Beach, Florida, in 1947, in November and December of 1947, my mother contacted Bill Tuthill and wanted Bill Tuthill to join in on the reorganization, which is really what the meetings were in Daytona Beach, Florida, in 1947. It was for the reorganization of the National Stock Car Racing Association, NSVRA, which Dad owned the charter for in Georgia that he incorporated in 1929. And there was a subchapter to the organization incorporated in Georgia that my mother had had gotten Dad to suggest a name for it in case there was ever a necessity for renaming. And it was, in fact, gee, guess what? NASCAR, NASCAR.
Mm-hmm.
So when the meetings were held, Bill Tuthill was a part of that process, and Bill Tuthill was hired by my father as the first organization vice president. Bill France was hired as the first promoter of the new organization. And by the way, as a result of that, my mother divorced my father.
Jeez.
Because my mother had told my father that if Bill France was going to be a part of any part of the new organization, she would divorce him because she didn't trust Bill France, because she knew him. And I won't do anything more with that to offer any disparaging remarks, but she did divorce my father as a result of that. But Bill Tuthill, after the organizational meetings were held, Bill Tuthill stayed in Daytona Beach. He did not go back home up to Washington. He stayed in Daytona Beach, and there was a effort, I think, to put Anne France in. Annie France, who I knew, Aunt Annie, I used to call her, into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And everybody said, well, why? Why is she going to go in there? Well, she's the one who did all the organization in Daytona Beach. Well, I'm sorry, that's just not true. I'm sorry, that's not true. Annie was home raising little Billy. And Bill Tuthill was the organization guy in Daytona Beach. Because Robert Soseby was the guy who would come downstairs and he would take that money down to Bill France or Grover Soseby. And Grover Soseby was the guy who was the organizer. He did the original organization. Now, how is that true? Well, it's true because Bill France himself was out in the field, if you will, all the way up and down the East Coast, trying to promote NASCAR and put on races that were governed by the new organization. He was trying to put on races that were being sponsored by NASCAR, that were being organized by NASCAR. As a matter of fact, some people remember that a lot of the drivers who signed up with NASCAR, there was a rule that was established that if you signed up with NASCAR but you went and you raced somewhere else, you were disbarred from NASCAR. And Bill France set up that rule. And so Bill France was out in the field, all up and down the East Coast, trying to get tracks built. Trying to get people to build tracks and trying to get people to put on races and so on and so forth. And by the way, the reason the NSCRA had to be reorganized anyway was because the promoters that Dad was trying to use to put on the races were mostly bootleggers. And a lot of them were not as honest as the day is long. What they would do is they promote a race, they get the people, the guys to come to the race, and there'd be an entry fee, and the guys would cough up the entry fee to the promoter, and the race would start, and the promoter would take off with the entry fees. So, in fact, Dad, a couple of people tried to kill my father because of that. They actually, one guy came in and he tried to kill my dad, and Dad shot one night. He shot at him 3 times and missed him, but the guy was pretty angry about Dad because his money had been stolen by one of Dad's promoters. So that was the telltale thing that said that NSCR needed to be reorganized. can I inject just one thing here to say that as it stands right now, and there's no reason to think it's going to change because there's nobody else around, I'm the last living person who sat at those organization conference tables in the Streamline Hotel in Daytona Beach, Florida in November, December of 1947. I sat right next to Bill France, between Bill France and my father, and Osinski, the attorney, sat on the other side of my father, and I sat at virtually every single one of those meetings down there. I know the conditions that existed before the meetings occurred. I know the conditions that existed during the meeting. Now, I was a young man, that's true, and a lot of people say, well, you were too young to know. Well, a lot of people don't realize that I was being educated in some of the finest schools with bootleg money that that money could afford. Both my brother and I received extraordinarily fine educations in some of the best prep schools in the United States, in the southeastern part of the United States at the time. In fact, we both attended schools that if you graduated from those schools with your high average, that you didn't even have to take the entrance examinations either of the military academies in the United States, either the United States Military Academy, West Point, or the United States Naval Academy, Annapolis. So we were pretty smart kids, and nobody could probably pull the wool over our eyes. And people say, well, if you were attending those schools, how did you get to the races and so forth? Well, I tell you how I did. Guys like Bonnie Block and Roy Hall and Jim Cherry and guys like that would come, for instance, to Georgia Military Academy in East Point, Georgia, and right next to Atlanta there, and I'd crawl out of the bathroom latrine window, and they'd sneak me down. They'd sneak me off to the races. And how come I wasn't accounted for as an absence? Well, because the senior cadets were the ones that were the officer of the day and sergeant of the guard, and they were kind of stupid. They didn't catch on, so I got away with it. I was never caught. So, you know, it was kind of fun, especially when there was races at Lakewood Speedway in Atlanta, the Indianapolis of the South. You know, I ate lunch with race car drivers that were killed the next day. I ate dinner with race car drivers that were killed the next day. And I know the temper of and the attitude and the actual spiritual commitment that those guys had for racing. They put their whole heart and soul into it. Everything they had, they put into it. And some of them gave their lives for it. And to see that today what controls NASCAR is just nothing but money. I'm sorry, it is a reality. There's no question about it. I mean, money governs this country. Money makes this country go around, and it's a reality. And then, you know, there's no way around it, I guess. But it's so disappointing to think that NASCAR is made up of just nothing but the focus of money. I'm sorry, it's just, that's what it is. And it's so over-engineered, the cars are so engineered by way of dictation of their design, their the concept of their horsepower, the concept of the everything is so there's so much alike, you know, now that I can't tell the difference. They put a sign on the front of it that says Toyota or bow tie on it, that gives you the idea it's a Chevrolet, or they put what is it, Fusion or something like that on the front of a Ford or something, and otherwise you don't know what they are. You really can't tell. From the paint jobs cover up the design of the car so much that you really can't tell, and it just looks like a bunch of toy cars running around out there, and it's very disappointing. This doesn't take. I'm trying to take away the expertise of the drivers. I'm not trying to do that, but I've driven on tracks. I've driven race cars. I've spent 27 years driving race cars, and so I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. And it's just, I don't know. You can get up underneath a guy's bumper and draft him and sit there and ride all day and then slingshot him, and that's about the end of it. What have you got there? You haven't got much of anything. Racing is not at all what it used to be, and I don't know how they're ever going to get back to it. I really don't. I think the fans are disappointed in it. A lot of the people that would otherwise sponsor race cars I think they're quietly pulling out of it. I don't know. Dodge, do you guys happen to know if Dodge is really actually going to pull out or has pulled out? I don't know.
Dodge has pulled out completely.
Right. All right. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a movement on. I was a little confused about it, but I guess now there's a movement on that Dodge. A lot of people want Dodge to stay in. Well, I doubt if they will. I doubt if they'll come back in. If they're out now already, then I doubt if they'll come back in. It makes you wonder what's next.
Yeah.
The fans are disappointed. You can see the empty seats. I can watching it on television. I even think the television people are in collusion. If I really honestly do, because they try to avoid showing you the areas of the grandstands that are empty, but sometimes the cameras.
Oh yeah, that's part of the thing when they're out there doing it. NASCAR tells them, whatever you can, don't try to take and get a shot of those stands if they're empty.
It's very obvious. But occasionally they'll sweep across, just by the mere fact that they're trying to do some coverage. They'll sweep across the part of the grandstands that are just empty.
Yeah, they're trying to put big banners up over the empty seats now. Hey, I got a quick question for you, or something that you were talking about earlier. We talked with Tiger Tom Pistone about as well. Was as the so to speak, forefathers of NASCAR, all the early people that are now getting older in their years, and you sort of touched on it, is what was NASCAR going to do to step forward to try to help out them with their medical things and stuff like this, because a lot of the older people in the racing NASCAR world don't have that coverage now with their age. And a lot of things we talked about with him was, getting NASCAR to possibly step up and to help out.
There's no reason why they can't. I know I'm in take for instance, I use my own self as an example. I'm in a medical plan that costs me, personally, it costs me a little over about $550 a month. Now, I live on a retired professional salary. Now, $550 a month is a lot of money on a retired professional salary. But the object of my point is this. With the amount of money that's floating around in NASCAR and the numbers of people they have involved, including drivers and pit crew members and officials and other people, there is no reason why they cannot have a group insurance plan that would anybody would marvel at. The the low cost of and the amount of the coverage that would be possible. It would be a magnificent thing, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, that sounds good to me. As much money as they're making, I know they hate not making a little more. You know, hey, share the wealth. Now, I got a question. Have you ever read the book Driving with the Devil?
Oh yeah, I assisted Neil Thompson. Neil Thompson interviewed me for that book, but I should tell you a funny story quickly about that. I have a convoluted family. I have a stepsister, and I won't make any remarks about that, except that I have one. Neil Thompson called me, and he said, "Are you a Little Red Boat?" I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Well, I didn't even know you existed." And I said, "Well, I'm not surprised." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, most people don't even know that my brother and I do exist." And he said, "Oh, you have a brother?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I have a brother." And he said, "Well, if it hadn't been for Smokey Eunuch, I would have never known that you existed." And he says, "I was talking. I'm writing a book." And he says, Then he started to explain to me that he started out writing a book. He was going to write a book about NASCAR, and then he suddenly discovered that he was going to have to change the title of the book and the whole concept of the book, because he began to realize that he was going to have to be writing the book about my father, because NASCAR was my father.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, well, gee, you finally caught on, huh?" Now there's a surprise.
Light bulb just turned on.
Yeah, and he said, "No, I really have to tell you." He said, "I just found out that your father was NASCAR." And I said, "Well, that's a compliment, yeah, to him, and I'll share it with him when I go to bed tonight and talk to him." And he said, "Well, no, I'm amazed." He says, "I'm writing this book," and he says, I'm almost through with it." And he said, "I guess I've talked to your sister." And I said, "You mean my stepsister?" And he said, "Oh, she's your stepsister." And anyway, I said, "Yeah, she's my stepsister." And he said, "Well, she told me that she was the only living survivor of your dad." And I said, "Oh, really? Is that right? That's really interesting." And he said, "Yeah, well, Smokey told me that I ought to speak with Little Red if I hadn't talked to him yet." And he says, "So he told me how to get hold of you." And I said, "Well, he's always known how to get hold of me." So he said, "Well, I'd like to talk to you." Well, so make cut a long story short, he spent about 6 weeks every day talking to him on the phone, and he emailed me copies of the chapters of the book for me to go through and to give some authentication to what he was saying. And I found a lot of things that were not of his doing, and I want to emphasize that, not of his doing, but things that he had been told by people that were simply not true. Just not true. And it never existed, didn't happen. I'm sorry, that just isn't true. And it was too late for him to do anything about it, because the publisher had already, I don't know the technical terms for it, but the publisher had already sent him to something. Anyway, couldn't do anything about it. So he did talk to me, and I told him a lot of things that, a whole lot of things that he didn't know. And he kept saying, "Well, I wish I had known that, 2 years ago or a year ago or something." I said, "Yeah, well, people will tell you things that they think are true because whoever told them, they trusted that they knew. And no one probably told you things that they intentionally knew to be false. What they told you, they thought was true. Because, how it is, you tell somebody a story that somebody told you, and by the time the third person is telling it, there's no longer the same story."
Oh, yeah.
when I was the keynote speaker for the inaugural opening of the Georgia Racing Hall of Fame, I told people, I said, tonight you're going to, I hope you learn that, I hope you learn, if you don't already know, that virtually all of the history of NASCAR up until about 1947, 48, probably, is all verbal history, all of it. Every single word of it is verbal history. There was probably actually nothing much written down anywhere about it. And so you need to understand what happens with verbal history. It is very, very dangerous to accept a lot of things in verbal history as fact.
Yeah.
Verbal history changes all the time. And we find out today, 50 years later, things about World War II that, gee, I wish I'd known that then. I didn't know that. And so on, and unless you were there and lived it, you don't know. And so when people challenge me about a lot of things that I know being a fact, the only thing I can say to them is, well, you know what? I was there. I lived it. I happen to be the only person alive that was there and lived it and was present at the time. And there's nobody else around to call on to tell you that what I'm saying is true. So I don't know what to tell you, You're either going to have to accept it or you won't. And if you don't, then you don't. That's all there is to it. You can go and be happy and believe what you choose to believe, whatever. So, nobody is going to be able to prove anything, There was a picture, by the way, on the NASCAR website up until about 2 years ago, I think, that showed one of the many, God knows how many press pictures and stuff were taken at the meetings in the Streamline Hotel at those conference tables, where the cameras flashing a lot. And so this picture was allegedly showed the rare picture of the day that NASCAR was founded. Okay, in the Streamline Hotel in Daytona Beach, Florida. Well, holy mackerel! I mean, which picture, what day? Yeah. Who was, of all the different people who wound up sitting at those tables? I mean, which day was it taken? Was it taken in the morning or the afternoon, or which people were actually there that particular moment or time, and which people were not there?
Is this when you go like eeny, meeny, miny, mo or something?
Yeah, it's true, yeah. Well, they took the picture down that showed me, Dad, and Bill France and Osinski and Bill Tuthill and so forth. If you look at the picture there, I have not looked in the last year or so, but I remember looking at one later on. They had taken the one down that was there that showed Bill Tuthill, me, and so forth. But the one that was there about a year or so ago didn't show Bill Tuthill. It didn't show me. It showed Bill France, my dad, Osinski, some other people, and so on. Does everyone understand, I hope, the way Bill France got control of all of the stock, and the family still owns all of the stock in NASCAR? He simply bought out everybody's shares of the original stock of NASCAR early on, and by the time of about 1951, between 1947 and 1951 or 52, I think, he wound up owning all of the shares of the original stock that was issued from the original organization.
And that's how you do it.
Yeah, and that's about the time he started claiming that he founded NASCAR.
Yeah.
And that was when he started saying that he was the guy that dreamed it up. Of course, that's not true, but
Oh yeah, well, like you said, everybody's finding out all this extra information. They with all the books and the films that have come out, you get to learn a lot more of what really went on behind the scenes, which is, good for you and as well as other people that have their heritages to explore and to share.
yeah. Well, I think I've said before on your wonderful program, Roger, and I always appreciate the opportunity to do so. Bill France did for the early development and continued development of NASCAR something that my father could have never done. And I want everybody to recognize that I know that, and I fully recognize it. My father did not have the capability or the ability to do that. Now, if my mother hadn't divorced him, then
It might be a different story.
yeah, it might have been a different story. Yeah, that could have been. I don't know. Who knows? But certainly, my father would never have had the ability. One of the stupid things my father did, and I know that I've done some stupid things also. I mean, if you haven't done stupid things in your life, then you have nothing to look back on and laugh.
Oh yeah.
But Dad gave Bill France all of his majority shares of stock. Dad had originally the majority shares of stock in NASCAR, and Dad gave Bill France his shares. Just gave them to him. He didn't sell them to him. He just gave them to him.
Ouch.
Because Bill was his childhood buddy.
Well, moving on ahead, when do you figure you're going to get your book finished out, or is that still something you're having a writer block thing with?
Well, I'm not right now. I don't have a writer block. In fact, I was up at 4 o'clock this morning, actually writing in the book. I had a flare come off in my head, and I got up and I ran in and I started writing. No, I've had a lot of personal things that I've had some illnesses that have interrupted. I've had some health concerns. I've had some personal issues that have come up and have really interrupted things. And an earthquake destroyed the first 8 chapters of the book, and I've had to try to get those recreated. So I'm hoping another 3 to 6 months. I'm just, and I'm disappointed that it has to be even that long, but that's what I'm looking at. I can't see it happening anytime before then, and I'm disappointed that it has to be that long, but.
Well, you'll have to keep us in mind. Let us know when it's getting to that point where it's actually going to be out on the bookshelves and everything.
Absolutely, and I should tell you that I have a person who's committed to publish the book for nothing.
Ah, that works good.
And so, I've told that person that whatever costs they incur or they are faced with, that they are certainly entitled to recompense for that out of any proceeds that come. I don't want anybody to, make any sacrifices that they don't have to make. That's,
yeah.
That's not necessary, but the element of getting the book to the public and to people like yourself who have been so kind to me, you get a free copy, my friend.
Oh, well, thank you. That's really nice of you.
No problem. And I'll be happy on behalf of Dad to sign it for you, not because I'm signing it, but because I take the hand of my father and put it to the book for you, and that's the way I feel about it.
Cool. Well, appreciate that.
My friend Roger, thank you. I can't. I could go on forever here, but I'm not gonna belabor you.
Well, we always have more shows. We can bring you back on and get some more rundowns of the latest stuff going on, or something else that's popped up that you had a big thought about in the middle of the night at 4 a.m. Hopefully it wasn't
interesting little stories that I could tell you. All the trips that I used to take with the bootleggers. I mean, I didn't sit on my hands.
Well, you got me thinking. Well, I may have to go look back at my dad's history, because he used to do a lot of stuff, and I wouldn't put it past him that he may have done some of that stuff in his time.
Well, he probably did, after all. I don't know what your age is, but, if it's comparable to mine, then, your dad probably lived at a time similar to mine, and those people had to do what they had to do in order to, make it work. So, so many people, that I've talked with have said to me, well, my grandfather was a bootlegger in North Carolina, did I ever tell you that, I don't want, again, I'm not going to do this very long, but did I tell you that I used to talk like this?
No.
I did. I'm from Georgia. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. And I did used to talk like this, and I had a speech coach up in San Francisco one time when I suddenly became an actor up there in the American Conservatory Theater, because I had a southern accent, and they wanted somebody to be in a play that had a southern accent. And so they put me in this play, and I did real well with it, because I could sure talk southern. And so this fella says, well, you have a voice that kind of projects out there, kind of loud, And I said, yeah, well, I'm loud. Yeah, well, all right. So they gave me a British speech coach, and the speech coach taught me how to speak as I do today. And whoever knew that I was going to wind up someday as a professor and have to stand in front of 150 students and lecture.
Oh, gosh. All right, well, let's go ahead and let you get going, and we're going to go head our booties on back home or go to supper. It's about time for you to have supper, too, here shortly.
Yep. Roger, thank you so much.
And thank you for being with us, and we will get back up with you, put you back on here again, and we're going to drag you through the mud.
All right, buddy.
Hear you screaming the whole way.
Enjoy talking to you.
It was really good.
Yeah, good night.
All right, bye-bye.
Sleep well. Bye-bye.
Okay, that was an experience.
Put a quarter in him, and he will do it.
I'll tell you all about the history. There you go.
And there's still more to go. And it's nice. Could you imagine him and Al Pierce getting together?
Oh, goodness. I've listened to Al Pierce at the racetrack talk. That would be an experience.
Have you ever gone back and watched some of the shows where he's been on here?
No, I have not.
You have to go back there and check it out now. Well, the show has been almost 2 hours tonight. We got cranking up here pretty good. Like to thank everybody for watching us tonight and enjoying the show with our guest. And we will see you next week. Thank you, and see ya!
Hey guys, I'm Daytona 500 winner Trevor Bain, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Racing.
Hi, I'm Robert Richardson Jr., driver of the number 23 Dodge Challenger for R3 Motorsports in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, and you're watching Let's Talk Racing.
I'm Timothy Peters, driver of the number 17 Toyota in the NASCAR Camp World Truck Series, and you're listening to Let's Talk Racing.
Driver of the 33 NASCAR Late Model, 2011 Old Dominion Speedway Track Champion. Thank you for watching Let's Talk Racing TV.
I'm Sam Hunt, driver of the 42 car on the thing Let's Talk Racing.
Hi, my name is Natalie Sather. I drive the 94